So I want you to imagine, like, a scenario that is practically nightmare fuel for anyone running an e-commerce operation.
Oh, absolutely. The worst case scenario.
Right. So you log into your dashboard on a Tuesday morning. The traffic looks completely normal. The site is up. Your checkout page is loading lightning fast.
Everything looks green.
Exactly. Completely green. There are absolutely zero red flashing error messages. No API warnings, no 404s on your screen. But out there, in the real world, your high-tier VIP customers are quietly being charged full retail price.
Ouch.
Yeah. Your highly restricted shipping lanes, like for oversized items, are suddenly just wide open to standard residential deliveries. And payment methods you specifically blocked for high-risk international orders, they were just sitting there as selectable options.
Which is terrifying.
And the absolute worst part of all of this, the thing that really gets me, is that not a single customer is complaining to your support team.
They never do.
No, they don't. They're simply abandoning their carts and walking away, while your analytics just show a completely healthy storefront.
It really is the ultimate silent failure. And I think for a massive segment of merchants, you have to understand this is not some hypothetical database glitch.
Right.
Or, a temporary server outage that will just resolve itself. This is the direct result of a deliberate, platform-wide structural change that just took effect. And it is catching operators entirely off guard.
Which is exactly why today's deep dive is basically operating as an emergency triage session. We are unpacking a massive platform shift that officially hit the Shopify ecosystem on June 30, 2026.
The deprecation of Shopify Scripts?
Exactly, and we're relying on a highly specific, very urgent source document today. It's an article titled, "Shopify Scripts Are Off, Your Functions Migration Path." We really need to figure out exactly what happened in the background of your store, why your dashboard is lying to you, and honestly, how to stop the bleeding.
Because if you aren't looking at the actual live front end of your checkout right now, you could be hemorrhaging revenue, and your analytics will just categorize it as an unexplained dip in conversion rate.
But we're going to fix that. By the end of this deep dive, you will have a clear blueprint for how to diagnose this specific damage on your own storefront, how the new underlying tech actually works, and how to determine whether you can fix this yourself this afternoon or if you need to go commission a developer.
Yeah, that triage is crucial.
So let's start with the timeline, because the platform didn't just pull the plug overnight, did they?
No. The deprecation was actually a phased structural shutdown.
Yeah.
So if we go back to April 15th, 2026, the ability to edit or publish any new scripts was completely frozen.
Okay, so a freeze.
Right. Whatever custom code you had running on that date was just locked in place. Like, it's still executed, but you were entirely locked out of the engine room. You couldn't tinker with it.
Which makes sense to stop new deployments, right? But then we hit the hard cutoff, June 30, 2026.
Yeah, that was the cliff. On June 30, every single published script ceased to execute, period. Deactivated. There is no grace period. No legacy support plan you can buy your way into. Our source is incredibly clear that there are 0 extensions here.
So wait, scripts written back in, 2018?
Yeah, 2018. Scripts that have been flawlessly calculating complex wholesale tiered discounts for nearly a decade simply went dark at midnight.
Okay, let's unpack this, because we really need to explore why this specific failure is invisible.
Sure.
If a payment gateway goes down, an operator gets an alert immediately.
Right, immediately, yeah.
If a third-party logistics app disconnects, the error logs light up like a Christmas tree. Why does the death of Shopify Scripts leave no trace on a dashboard?
It really comes down to understanding the technical architecture of what a script actually was under the hood.
Okay.
Under the old system, Shopify effectively allowed developers to inject custom Ruby code directly into the server-side operations at the checkout.
Right.
It was raw code running exactly in line with Shopify's own core checkout processes. So when June 30 hit, Shopify didn't break the checkout, they just stopped running your custom Ruby code. Oh, I see.
The core checkout simply reverted to its default baseline state.
Okay, so to use an analogy, it's like you had a custom plumbing system spliced directly into the city's main water line, right, to divert specific water flows to your VIP garden.
I like that, yeah.
And when the city upgraded the pipes, they didn't break the water supply. The water's still flowing perfectly to the house, they just completely removed your custom diversion valve.
Exactly.
So the city sees no leaks, the pressure is perfect, but your garden is dying.
That perfectly illustrates the mechanism. From the platform's perspective, the checkout is functioning flawlessly because it is processing standard orders exactly as a default checkout should. There are no error codes because technically there is no error.
It's just doing its job.
Yeah, the system just isn't enforcing your bespoke business logic anymore, and the reality on the ground is just stark. The source actually quotes a practitioner who observed the merchant community's reaction, noting that customers rarely report these friction points.
They just leave. They just leave. They assume you raised your prices or you changed your shipping policies, and they just bounce to a competitor.
So if the dashboard is a total dead end, how does an operator actually find this invisible damage? Like, what does it look like when that custom logic drops away on a live store?
Well, you really have to look for the specific symptoms at the point of sale. Every script that was running in that old architecture fell into one of three official categories.
Okay, what's the first one?
The most immediate impact usually hits the cart math first. These were line item scripts.
Meaning the pricing of the products themselves before you even get to shipping.
Exactly. If a line item script died, complex discounting structures just vanish. Imagine a shopper who habitually buys in bulk, right? They add 5 units to their cart, fully expecting the 15% volume discount they've received for the last 2 years.
Naturally.
They navigate to the checkout, and the subtotal just reflects the full, undiscounted retail price.
That is an instant cart abandonment. I mean, it feels like a bait and switch to the consumer.
It does.
And I imagine the logistics side gets messy quickly, too, which brings us to the second category.
Yeah, shipping scripts. This is where operators manipulate what delivery options a specific buyer is allowed to see. Let's say you sell heavy machinery, and you have a rule that hides the standard 2-day air option if a cart weighs over 200 pounds.
Right, forcing them into a freight option.
Exactly. When that script dies, the 2-day air option re-emerges. A customer selects it, pays a fraction of the actual shipping cost, and you are suddenly eating massive freight losses just to honor the order.
Oh, wow.
Or, conversely, you might see the order of your shipping rates completely scramble, burying the cheapest option at the bottom and totally confusing the buyer.
And the third piece of this puzzle has to be how they actually pay for the order, right?
Payment scripts. They operate on the exact same logic, but for gateways. Many merchants use these to hide certain payment methods based on customer tags or regions, basically to avoid fraud or high processing fees.
Makes sense.
Or they might rename a generic gateway to something highly specific for their B2B clients, like changing Net30 to wholesale invoice approval. With scripts gone, those custom names revert to default. And blocked, high-risk payment methods become fully selectable again.
Knowing those symptoms is definitely helpful for manual testing. But if a merchant realizes this is happening, their very first instinct is going to be to jump into the Shopify admin, type script editor into the search bar, and try to just turn the code back on.
Of course.
But our source warns about a really bizarre platform quirk regarding this.
Oh, it is a massive point of friction right now. The terminology has entirely shifted. The new architecture is called Shopify Functions. But because the old script editor app was so foundational for so long, there is significant legacy caching.
Okay.
As late as July 2026, weeks after the total deprecation, the old script editor app listing could still surface in the App Store search results.
No way.
Complete with a functional-looking install button.
Wait, I have to push back on the logic there. If the underlying server infrastructure that runs Ruby scripts has been entirely deactivated,
Right.
why on earth would a multi-billion-dollar platform allow an install button to remain active on a dead tool? Isn't that just actively setting an already panicking merchant up to fail?
It absolutely adds to the panic, but I think it highlights how incredibly complex it is to untangle legacy architecture from a massive ecosystem. You're dealing with global app caching, search algorithm lag, and just the sheer inertia of sunsetting a tool that was deeply embedded in thousands of enterprise workflows.
So it's basically a ghost.
The listing is effectively a zombie, yeah. It might let you install the interface, but the engine behind it just doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
This is exactly why relying purely on App Store search during a major platform migration is incredibly dangerous.
Do not click the zombie install button. Got it. So if the old app is totally useless, what is the immediate practical action step an operator must take to find out what rules just vaporized from their store?
You need to pull the specific deprecation report.
Okay, how do we do that?
Navigate to your Shopify admin, go to Apps, find your existing old script editor app if it's still installed, click the banner that says Replace Shopify Scripts, and open the Customizations report.
And that tells you what broke.
Yes. This auto-generates a list of every single custom rule that was running. You need to physically export or write down every rule on that list. That list is your recovery map.
Okay, let's follow that map into the new reality then. The replacement technology is Shopify Functions.
Right.
According to the source, Functions accomplish the same business goals, manipulating discounts, shipping, and payments. But the underlying mechanism and the delivery model are completely different. How do they actually work if we aren't writing Ruby code anymore?
This is really where we get into the why of the entire migration. The platform shifted from a code injection model to an API-based app model.
Huh?
Instead of dropping raw code into a text editor that runs directly on Shopify servers, functions are pre-compiled. They run in a highly secure, heavily constrained environment called WebAssembly.
So what does that mean for the average merchant?
For the average merchant, it means you are no longer managing code. You are installing an app from the App Store and configuring your rules within a user interface.
That seems like a massive shift in access, which actually brings up something the source calls the plus myth.
Ah, yes.
And we really need to clarify this because I think it's the single biggest source of confusion in the market right now regarding who is actually allowed to customize a checkout.
The confusion makes total sense given the history, honestly. For years, the ability to manipulate the checkout with the old script editor was strictly gatekept.
It was a VIP thing.
Exactly. It was an exclusive feature only available to merchants paying for Shopify Plus, the enterprise tier. If you were on a standard, advanced, or basic plan, you simply couldn't access it.
Your checkout was locked down, take it or leave it.
Precisely. But the architecture of functions fundamentally changes that access. The official rule now is that a store on any plan tier can install and use public apps from the App Store that are built on Shopify functions.
Wait, really? Any tier?
Any tier. The only time you specifically need an Enterprise Plus plan is if you're commissioning a developer to build a bespoke, private custom app from scratch just for your store.
Wow. This feels like a massive philosophical shift for the platform. I mean, by killing off an exclusive enterprise-only tool and replacing it with App Store functionality available to everyone, Shopify has essentially democratized complex checkout logic.
It's a huge deal.
Right. A standard tier merchant can now install an app and immediately access complex, tiered, wholesale discounting that would have been completely impossible for them a year ago.
It is a massive democratization for merchants, undoubtedly. But, this raises an important question because we have to acknowledge the very real friction this creates for development agencies.
So?
While the old script editor was incredibly fast for a seasoned developer, an agency could log into a client store, write 20 lines of Ruby directly in the browser, hit save, and instantly solve a niche wholesale problem in like 10 minutes.
Oh, wow. And now,
because functions require a much more robust architecture, that exact same quick fix requires a formal development environment. A developer has to build an app, compile the WebAssembly, deploy it, host it. It completely removes that instant direct access to the codebase.
that sounds like a lot more work.
It is. The trade-off is stability. The platform is infinitely more secure and upgradable, but operators really lose the ability to just pop the hood and hotwire a quick solution on a Friday afternoon.
That transition from hot wiring to formal apps means merchants have to completely change how they approach a broken checkout rule.
Exactly.
And the source outlines 3 distinct recovery routes for replacing those dead scripts. If an operator is looking at their customizations report right now, they basically have to funnel each rule into one of 3 paths, right? Reconfiguring natively, swapping to an app, or building a custom function.
Right. Let's break those down by cost and complexity. Let's start with route 1, reconfiguring natively. This is the path of least resistance. It takes minutes to hours, and it costs exactly $0.
Okay, this would be for the basic table stakes, right?
Sure.
Simple amount off discounts, buy one, get one free logic, or like a straightforward free shipping threshold.
Correct. You don't need a third-party app for these anymore. The native Shopify admin has actually absorbed a lot of this functionality.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, you can set up automatic discounts directly in the admin, and currently you can run up to 25 of those native automatic discounts simultaneously. However, the source points out a major limitation.
Which is?
Tiered pricing. If you want a rule that says, buy 2 items, get 10% off, buy 5 items, get 20% off, that logic is not native for standard direct-to-consumer stores, only B2B. To achieve that for DTC, you must move to Route 2.
Got it. Route 2 is the app swap. The source estimates this takes hours to days to implement, and the costs are fairly minimal, ranging from free up to maybe $15 a month, depending on the specific app.
Yeah. This route is for those standard hide, rename, and reorder rules for shipping and payments, or the tiered discounts that fall just outside the native capabilities.
So you're using an off-the-shelf solution.
Exactly. Instead of writing code, you are effectively renting someone else's pre-built function. The source actually identifies several reliable apps specifically built to fill these gaps. Like, if you need that complex tiered discounting, there is an app called Multiscount.
Okay.
For advanced buy one, get one logic, they recommend Kite Discount.
And I imagine the naming conventions for the shipping and payment apps are fairly literal.
Very literal. There are specific utility apps named HideShip and HidePay that do exactly what you'd expect. Or there are comprehensive all-in-one suite apps like checkout blocks that handle a wide variety of these rules in one single interface.
So that covers most people.
Yeah, for 80% of merchants, Route 2 will solve their problems completely.
But then we reach the remaining 20%. Route 3, the custom function build. This is where the timeline stretches from days to weeks, and the financial investment becomes pretty significant.
Very significant. The agency estimates provided in the source for a bespoke custom app build range from $4,000 to $12,000 as a baseline. You are taking this route only when your business logic is so deeply specific, like complex conditional wholesale rules, external data lookups during checkout, or highly specific B2B tagging hierarchies that absolutely no off-the-shelf app can accommodate it.
I mean, $12,000 sounds like a painful, unexpected capital expense for a mid-market merchant just to maintain the status quo of their checkout.
Yeah.
But the source includes a fascinating case study that honestly completely recontextualizes that cost.
It really does. It's a compelling look at the hidden costs of messy checkout architecture. The source details a hybrid B2B and DTC merchant. Before they migrated to functions, they were relying on this tangled web of old, overlapping scripts.
Right.
Because the logic wasn't watertight, tags were conflicting, and wholesale clients were unintentionally stacking discounts with retail promo codes.
Oh, no.
The agency auditing them estimated they were losing between 12,000 and 18,000 euros a month in over-granted erroneous discounts.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Wait, 18,000 euros a month bleeding out in the cart.
Every month.
And that doesn't even account for the operational drag.
No, the operational overhead was staggering. They were spending roughly 80 hours a month having customer service reps manually review and correct mispriced wholesale orders before they shipped.
That is brutal.
Yeah.
So they pulled the trigger on Route 3. They commissioned a custom private function app. According to the data, it took 8 weeks to build, and it cost 24,000 euros upfront, plus an ongoing 800 euro a month retainer for maintenance.
Yep.
That is a heavy, heavy invoice. But the result, the discount leakage entirely stopped. They recovered approximately 180,000 euros a year in raw margin just by fixing the back-end logic.
Yeah.
I mean, it really challenges the perception that checkout maintenance is just a boring IT expense.
Right.
It's actively one of the most powerful profit levers in an e-commerce operation.
That return on investment is phenomenal, for sure. But it also serves as a warning regarding Route 3. The true risk of commissioning a custom build isn't the upfront sticker price. The danger is underscoping the development brief.
How does a merchant avoid that? Like, what does a bad brief look like versus a good one?
A bad brief is going to a developer and saying, hey, our wholesale discounts aren't applying correctly anymore, please fix them.
That sounds dangerous.
It is an invitation for open-ended hourly billing because the developer has to essentially reverse engineer your business logic from scratch. To achieve a fixed, predictable cost like the 24,000 euro case study, an operator must provide a relentlessly detailed brief.
Okay, like what?
You must define the specific logic, the exact customer tags, the exact cart thresholds. And crucially, you have to define the edge cases.
What happens when two rules collide?
Exactly. If a customer holds a VIP wholesale tag, but they also click a marketing email that auto-applies a Black Friday 20% off code, which discount wins,
Right.
does one cancel the other? Do they stack? You must map out those exact checkout scenarios so the developer knows precisely what to build and what to test against before handing it back to you.
That level of detail leads us perfectly into the actual execution. The source provides a really concrete 6-step workflow to triage and recover a store.
Yes, the action plan.
Step 1 is pulling that customizations report in the admin. Step 2 is documenting every single script you had running. But Step 3 is where strategy comes into play, because you have to decide what to actually keep.
I cannot emphasize Step 3 enough. Just because a rule is on that report does not mean you are obligated to rebuild it. The platform actually includes a feature to ignore customizations in that report, just to clear them out.
You know, this is like moving to a new house. You don't just pack the junk drawer into a box and take it with you.
Right, exactly.
This forced deprecation is highly disruptive, yes, but it is also a hidden blessing. It's a rare opportunity to ruthlessly audit your revenue rules. You can finally throw out that weird, hyper-specific promotional logic a marketing manager demanded back in 2021 that hasn't actually been relevant for years.
That is the exact mindset to adopt. Do not spend capital migrating your technical debt. So once you've purged the obsolete rules, step 4 is routing the survivors into native, app, or custom builds.
Okay.
Step 5 is the actual rebuilding process, and step 6 is the critical final failsafe. You must place a live test order.
This goes all the way back to the nightmare scenario we opened with. Because the failure is silent, the fix is also silent, isn't it?
Precisely. You cannot verify that a function is successfully executing just by looking at the little green toggles inside the app settings in your admin dashboard.
It's not enough.
No, the API might be connected, but the logic might be flawed. You must open an incognito browser window, log in as a test customer, add the specific trigger products to the cart, navigate to the checkout front end, and physically verify that the discount applies, the correct shipping methods load, and the intended payment gateways appear.
You literally have to walk the path the customer walks.
It is entirely non-negotiable.
As we look at this entire landscape, the auditing, the potential app fees, the custom development costs, I think we need to address the underlying motive for all of this disruption.
The big picture.
Yeah. Why did Shopify force a migration that requires so much heavy lifting from their merchant base? They didn't just do this to be cruel.
No. If we connect this to the bigger picture, to understand the motive, we have to look at the broader architectural shift happening beneath the surface.
Okay.
The old scripts relied on server-side rendering, deeply embedded in a foundational piece of Shopify's architecture known as the checkout.liquid file.
Right.
Because merchants were injecting custom code directly into that file, it became incredibly fragile. If a merchant wrote inefficient code, it slowed down the entire checkout process for that store, causing latency.
Ah, I see.
And worse, it was practically impossible for Shopify to roll out global security upgrades without breaking thousands of bespoke merchant customizations.
The customization was actively preventing the platform from scaling.
Exactly. So Shopify is entirely sunsetting that old checkout.liquid architecture. By forcing checkout logic into functions, which run in that isolated precompiled WebAssembly environment we talked about, the platform protects the core checkout. It ensures the checkout remains upgrade safe, incredibly fast, and modular. It also allows for much deeper, more seamless integration with accelerated digital wallets like ShopPay, which honestly demands standardized data structures to function at high speed.
That makes total sense.
So the pain of migration is acute right now, but it is fundamentally required to move e-commerce away from fragile, duct-taped server hacks and into a stable, high-converting app ecosystem.
So what does this all mean for you? The mandate for the operator listening to this is clear. Urgency is the only acceptable response here. Do not wait for a catastrophic drop in conversion rate to show up in next month's profit and loss statement to realize your cart logic is broken.
You can't afford to wait.
Assume nothing.
From there.
Log into your dashboard today, run that legacy customizations report, audit your rules, and start plugging the holes before another VIP customer abandons their cart.
And, as operators work through that triage, it presents a really fascinating strategic question for the future of the industry.
What's that?
Well, if the platform's ultimate objective with functions is a universally upgradable, lightning-fast checkout that integrates flawlessly with centralized wallets like ShopPay, are we witnessing the sunset of the bespoke checkout era?
Oh, wow.
For the last decade, major brands spent hundreds of thousands of dollars to build highly customized, unique checkout flows as an expression of brand identity.
Right, they wanted it to look and feel completely custom.
Exactly. But perhaps the future of e-commerce isn't bespoke at all. Perhaps the future is a totally standardized, hyper-optimized funnel where every major storefront's checkout behaves in exactly the same predictable, uniform way.
Interesting.
Designed solely to train consumer muscle memory for the fastest possible conversion rather than expressing the brand.
A completely uniform global checkout experience, quietly powered by modular apps running in the background. It entirely redefines what a brand actually controls in the transaction.
It really does.
Well, thank you all for joining us on this deep dive. Pull those reports, test your carts on the front end, and keep questioning the systems running silently in the background of your business. We'll catch you on the next one.